Good day, everyone. Our topic focuses on sex and gender orientation and diversity in the hospitality and tourism industry. In this industry, we meet people from all walks of life, different cultures, beliefs, and identities. That's why embracing diversity isn't just about policy, it's a core value. Promoting sex and gender orientation diversity means creating a workplace where everyone feels accepted, respected, and safe to express who they are.
Workplace diversity is simply the presence of wide range social identities within workforce. This isn't just about gender and age. It includes things like ethnicity, nationality, disability, and also sexual orientation and even migration status. It also crucially means having inclusive policies and practices so all these different employees feel they are truly participate, contribute, and succeed. Why it matters? Because it's strategic necessity for global and tourism sector. While our workforce is naturally diverse, we must prioritize inclusion and equity. We urge all organizations to commit to inclusive policies, leadership training, and breaking down stereotypes to ensure fair opportunity and voice for every employee.
Sex and gender orientation diversity is essential in today's workplace because it promotes equality, creativity, and respect among employees of all identities. According to the United Nations World Tourism Organization 2019, one of the few industries in the world women dominate in tourism, as evidenced by the fact that women make up 54% of the workforce worldwide, compared to just 39% in the overall economy. This disparity demonstrates that equality in opportunity, income, and power does not follow always the diversity in numbers.
The topic is important for hospitality and tourism because it helps business understand guest behavior, improve service, and create better experience that attract more visitors.
Good day, everyone, and welcome. We are incredibly excited for our discussion today for the topic that is the most vital that shaped for our modern industry, and that is all about the sex and gender orientation, diversity, and also inclusion. So joining me here today is the most fantastic example of a talent that is from our education system, a proud leader of hospitality, and also one of the CPSU Best Asian graduate, Sir Harold Mananquero.
Hello everyone.
Hello, sir. How are you?
I'm doing good, man.
Okay, that's good to hear. So, how was your experience here in CPSU so far?
Here in CPSU Victoria specifically, so I'm enjoying the whole experience so far, and the Victoria Salmon are quite amazing people.
Wow. That's so nice. And he's from the CPSU Hinigara number 1. And also we're glad to be here and for saying yes to be interviewed for our topic. So let's start. First question is, can you share your role and experience in hospitality or tourism industry that focusing on any engagement you had with sex and gender orientation?
Okay, so let me first begin my answer by telling you a story during my OJT, because that was when I was really exposed to the world of hospitality. And during my OJT, it was taught to us that we wouldn't really handle any policies about gender, but we were taught about the respect and the culture of malasakit that was taught from SEDA. And I think it is also applied to hospitality industry as a whole. malasakit is the Filipino culture or Filipino value of showing care or genuine concern to other people without any conditions. And I think that's the guiding principle so far that I have seen. And it's really helpful in terms of gender and or sex and diversity because it is concerned without any other without considering other factors, just the genuine care itself, not about the gender. It's inclusivity in the Filipino way.
Okay, that's so nice. Okay, so next question. How do you define sex and gender orientation, diversity in the context of hospitality and tourism workplace?
So for me, sex and gender orientation diversity is not just about representation. We don't need many people to tell them that, oh, you're a member of LGBT, that's amazing. We don't need people to be recognized for that aspect of their life, but we need people who will celebrate with them as a symbol of authenticity. Because in hospitality, we represent, we are the, what do you call this? We are the leaders in terms of remarkable service. And our industry, we thrive on authenticity. And if our service thrives on authenticity, we need people to celebrate other people regardless of their background.
Their identity. Yes.
Yes.
I agree, sir. Yes. And okay, so next one. What specific challenges have you encountered related to sex and gender orientation diversity in your workplace? Like for the LGBT Q&A plus employees or guests that you've experienced way back in your OGT?
So as I have observed, the challenges are quite subtle, meaning you can only notice them with by purely observing. So there are microaggressions, unspoken biases, and I think it stems from the lack of awareness that these people, like us, are normal and they're living and they're simply doing their best. And the challenge comes from the lack of education, the lack of awareness, or sometimes, or the ignorance itself that, especially the older generation, and they have this monoculture believing that God only created
man and
the woman, which really affects the performance of other employees, which in turn could also affect the way they treat their guests.
Yeah, that's right. Okay, so how does your organization promote inclusivity, specifically in terms of sex and gender orientation?
So our organization, inclusivity is actually not the big thing that you put on the banner or on the hallway stating that you are welcome, you are loved. I think inclusivity is in the small gestures. It's in the way we communicate with the members of LGBTQ+, and it's in a way we change our tone, knowing that they have these experiences that we don't really understand, and to respect other people. You don't need to get the complete picture of their life to give them respect. Respect is earned, but respect can also be given freely without really knowing the background of the person. You just treat them as a human being, regardless of their sex, gender, or their standing in life.
Yeah, I agree. Because especially that inclusivity, it comes with a small action. So, small action is really important because if you're going to don't give attention to the small actions, it will turn into a big problem.
Yeah.
Yes, by the way she dressed.
There are things you can also do. The first one is, of course, you need to observe. How do you see that person? Do they appear to you as a man or as a woman? Sometimes it's really apparent. If that person appears to you as a woman or like a girl, you should call them ma'am.
Okay, yeah, that's nice. Okay, so next question is, can you share an example where sex and gender orientation diversity positively impacted your workplace, perhaps in guest, service, or team dynamics?
So I once worked, and I'm currently working with other instructors who are openly gays. And I think their main impact or benefit to the workplace is, of course, their charisma. Their charisma, their productivity, and creativity leading to this authentic environment. There's no plasticity there.
Yeah.
And that's one of the qualities that I love about them, because people are we have this quality as a person where we seem dualistic. We avoid doing this or that because of how the society looks at us. And these people, they inspire us to also open up and brave the world, to show ourselves, to put everything, what we hid in the dark, to put them to light.
Yeah.
That's why there's this, they have this phrase in the community saying that you should go out of the closet.
Yeah.
Yeah, we really can't force, we really don't force people to go out of their closet. But the people who already did, they could also be like an inspiration for those people. And I think authenticity brings out the best of the people because it inspires creativity.
Yeah. Okay. So what specific policies or practices are in place in your organization to support inclusivity for all genders and sexual orientations?
Okay, so even if not formally documented, when I was still in the hotel, our supervisors taught us the culture or the values of paggalang or respect to others. And yeah, it goes back to the word malasakit. It's the unconditional way or genuine concern to others, to your colleagues, to your guests, and also to yourself.
So what specific policies or practices are in place in your organization to support inclusivity for all genders and sexual orientations?
Okay, so there is no formal policies regarding that aside from showing respect. But of course, we have the different laws implemented to treat the members of LGBT with respect. However, in the hotel, it is not implicitly said. You just need to respect your guests, not
By how they will feel comfortable and accepted.
not about their gender, but by being them.
That's right.
So, respect and paggalang, it goes hand in hand for that. So, yeah.
I agree. And you should respect them on how you would like to be respected as well.
Yeah.
Okay, so next question is, in your own opinion, what is the biggest barrier to sex and gender orientation, diversity, and inclusion in the hospitality and tourism sector?
So, in hospitality and tourism sector, I think the lack of education is the main barrier. The biggest barrier to sex and gender inclusivity. That is why people are encouraged to talk about gender and sex
Yeah, about this topic.
about this topic because it is in our Filipino culture as a Christian.
Yeah.
You know,
Christian country.
we are one of the biggest Christian country, and it is being stigmatized here, even demonized by the elders.
Yeah.
But slowly there are major progresses, and it's really nice to see that the Philippines is slowly accepting new concepts and it promotes inclusivity.
Okay. So next is, how do employees from diverse sex and gender orientation contribute to customer satisfaction and the overall guest experience? I want to hear your answer way back your OGT days, if that's okay.
Okay, so way back in my OJT days, service is emotional labor. Meaning, to serve other people, you need to first be authentic. You need to know what service you can provide to our guests. So way back in my OJT days, I have witnessed there are friends or colleagues that were openly gays as well. They tend to be more caring compared to other genders. Maybe because of their upbringing as well. And the experiences we don't know about, that they have been more empathetic towards our guests. And maybe that leads us to a more transparent kind of service, because our guests, they know it when we are not being authentic and we are only there for the money.
Yes. So what advice, so me, I am a hospitality student, so what advice could you give to me about working with colleagues who have diverse sex and gender orientations?
So for you as my student in hospitality, I always tell you that you need to lead with empathy and lead as an example, especially to you seniors. I've been rooting for you, and I want you to listen more than you speak. And when you speak, you need to speak with kindness. You know, we cannot, once the words are out, we can no longer take them back.
Yes. Words is sharp than knife.
Yeah. Okay, so, since hospitality industry is one of the biggest industries there is, I believe that if we really want to pursue inclusivity, our industry alone can do it. We are, especially that we are an industry serving with a heart. Yeah, that's where we can showcase it. We need to serve other people with equality and empathy.
And kindness.
Yeah.
Okay, that's so nice. Guys, how has your personal perspective on sex and gender orientation, diversity changed through your work experience in this industry?
It made me realize that diversity isn't just a topic, but a practice. Inclusivity is not just an idea or a concept, and diversity as well. They need to be practiced every day. Again, like what I said earlier, in the way we talk, the way we handle situations. We don't really need to talk about genders all the time.
Yeah, exactly.
But we need to practice them, because words are empty when actions are not present. So we need to act on it. And my experience really taught me that change doesn't just come from the big plan, or the major programs that we create, but it's in the very small actions that you do as an individual as well. It contributes to that. Small thing. It's the small things that count.
Okay. Okay, so we have last two questions. So, what role do you think the hospitality and tourism industry should play in promoting sex and gender equality and inclusion for orientation in society?
So hospitality is one of the major industries where equality can be promoted because at its heart, hospitality is the service industry. So we are not just serving one person or one gender alone, but we are serving the whole public in general. And we cater to them, to their needs. And this is the reason why we study all of these.
Yeah.
Because we strive for quality service and excellence. And I think we can be the bearer or the torch bearer of this as a major industry.
Right. So, as a CPSU graduate, so how did your education prepare you to embrace and manage a workplace with diverse sex and gender orientation?
Okay, so CPSU has always taught me compassion.
Wow.
And to not see people for their titles or for their status in life.
Yeah.
It made me open my eyes to the realities that yes, there are differences and there are things that we still don't know about. And even if we don't know much about them, we need to respect them. So CPSU prepared me not only for employment but for empathy. Because empathy really leads you to a meaningful relationship with other people. And what we wanted to do as hospitality management practitioners, what we wanted to give our guests or clients is the utmost quality that there is. That the standard, not just a standard, but we need to exceed that. And CPSU taught me to exceed those standards and become the torchbearer of knowledge as well as of excellence because it's our mission to produce competent graduates. And I'm really proud that I am one of them.
Wow.
Hello everyone, I am Belle Casinelli. And the girl sitting beside me, she is Anne May Erbetti, graduating a Bachelor of Science in Hospitality Management at Central Philippine State University. And I am here to ask her an interesting question about sex and gender orientation. Hi Miss, hello. For allowing us to ask you some questions. Okay, let's start. Are you ready?
Yes, I am.
Okay. First question. What can you share your role and experience in the hospitality tourism industry, focusing on any engagement you had with sex and gender diversity initiatives?
Alright, so aligned with hospitality and tourism, sex and gender development is very vital in our society or our sector. So it promotes a respectful workplace where everybody is accepted, where everybody feel that they have a place, especially in hospitality and tourism, that we have a lot of sectors. It's either in transportation, it's either in the hotel, accommodation, food and beverage. So having that respectful kind of workplace, I think everybody can have that acceptance and can have that what we call sex and gender development.
Okay, thank you. Next question. How do you define sex and gender orientation diversity in the context of hospitality tourism workplace?
For me, I would define, that would be one word, to define the sex and gender development. Yeah, in one word, I think I would describe it as hope. Why? It's because in sex and gender development topic, it is our hope that everyone in the hospitality and tourism can understand, not just in a baseline kind of definition, but deeper than that, where everybody can have that more knowledge in terms of what we call sex and gender development.
Okay. Next question. Can you share an example where sex and gender orientation diversity positively impact your workplace, perhaps in guest service or team dynamics?
Alright, for that, I think it would have a fear of discrimination. Because every one of us have that fear to be discriminate, especially in our people at the LGBTQ plus A. They are very sensitive when it comes to discrimination, not only them, but also the male and female in our society, which is very vital to everyone to discriminate, but it's also very important that those people who try to discriminate those kinds of people also understand somehow how can we work or how strong sex and gender development in hospitality and tourism, which is have a vital role since we are not dealing in just one gender. We're also dealing in different kinds of gender. Even in the LGBTQ plus A, there's a lot of category where you should know what kind of gender you have. So I think that fear of discrimination will always be there, but I think it's up to the people and how they will handle the discrimination itself.
Okay. Fourth question. In your opinion, what is the biggest barrier to sex and gender orientation diversity and inclusion in the hospitality and tourism sector?
So for in line to hospitality and tourism sector, I think the best way that we could implement sex and gender development is, I think, through education. Because we all know education is our baseline in everything. If we know how to educate other people, if we know how to educate our guests regarding with sex and gender development, then I think we could able also to implement some trainings, seminars. So through that, I think we can have slowly progress in opening that kind of topic. And I think through that, hospitality and tourism development will not just focus on its mission to give a wonderful service, a great view, but I think also to give education to everybody that sex and gender development is very important to know, especially if you are an employee or if you are in the hospitality and tourism industry.
Okay, the fifth question is, what advice would you give to young hospitality students about working with college who have diverse sex and gender orientation?
So my advice for the students?
Yes.
My advice for the students is that one day, if they will be working in one of the hospitality or tourism sector, I want them to know the meaning of feeling valued. Because if within themselves they know that they are valued, so through that they can also reciprocate or they can also pass that to our guests so that they can feel that they are valued, that regardless of their gender orientation, you should always make sure that our guest has that feeling of acceptance and a feeling of being valued.
Okay, thank you. The sixth question is, what role do you think the hospitality and tourism industry should play in promoting sex and gender equality and inclusion for all orientation in society?
I think the best way is we should start it with ourselves. We try to engage with some workshops, we engage some on the seminars. Even through that steps, we can able to understand how these topics work. And I think through that, we can also help to engage that or to pass that kind of learnings we have to our guests, not just to our guests, but to our fellow hospitality and tourism people.
Okay, thank you. The last question. As a CPSU graduate, for the alumni interview, how did your education prepare you to embrace and manage a workplace with diverse sex and gender orientation?
As a CPSU graduate, education really my foundation to understand these kinds of topic. Why? It's because at Central Philippine State University, we already practicing that one. I think one of the school or only CPSU is the one who have that gender type of university where some our gay people would dress as a woman and some of our women people want to dress as a man, they can. So we have that freedom. And I think CPSU became our foundation. That education, that CPSU gave us is, I think, the foundation enabled for us to adapt easily, especially in hospitality and tourism sectors, that we are not just close-minded, but we are in an open-minded person that regardless of the sex, regardless of their gender orientation, acceptance that CPSU has already built is, I think, one of the way that we could able also to understand the feeling of other people. And through that, we could also address or we could also help. And I think the education that CPSU instilled with us will always be there, and that education prepared us to face the reality of hospitality and tourism industry.
Okay, Miss, thank you for your time.
Alright, so that one last window.
Good afternoon, everyone. So, for this afternoon, we're going to interview Ma'am Han Han, the manager of McDonald's Victorias, about the sex and gender orientation. So, for our first question, how do you define sex and gender orientation diversity in the context of the hospitality and tourism workplace?
Okay, good afternoon, everyone. I'm Han Han from McDonald's Victorias. Hello, Sir Serfino. Good afternoon. So, in the hospitality and tourism industries, sex and gender orientation diversity means acknowledging, respecting, and valuing employees and guests of different sex, gender identities, and sexual orientations.
So, are you ready for the next question?
Yes.
For our next
Go.
question, what advice would you give to young hospitality students about working with colleagues who have diverse sex and gender orientations?
My advice to young hospitality students is to always be kind, open, and understanding when working with colleagues with different sex and gender orientation. Treat everyone equally and prioritize their abilities and contributions over their gender identity or orientation.
Nice. Okay, so for your last question, as a CPSU graduate, how did your education prepare you to embrace and manage a workplace with diverse sex and gender orientation?
As a CPSU graduate, my education equips me to appreciate and manage a workplace with varied sex and gender orientations by instilling principles such as respect, equality, and inclusivity through a variety of courses, workshops, and encounters. I developed my ability to collaborate with others from all backgrounds and I realized the value of treating everyone equally.
Alright, so that would be all. I want to say thank you, ma'am, for your time and for sharing your thoughts about the sex and gender orientation in our workplace. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
So as hospitality student, I realized that sex and gender orientation diversity isn't just about policies or fancy trainings. It's about kasing-kasing it. It's about empathy, respect, and making people feel safe and seen. Every interaction counts. So even simple things like using the right pronouns or calling somebody by their chosen names, hindi na siya arte-arte lang. It's a basic respect. So inclusion isn't a one-time thing. It's a daily habit. And as I grow in this field, I carry this with me with beyond labels. Mi ara gidyang nga human story. So through hospitality starts when we choose to honor the story with heart, with pride, and with realness.
For me as a student, what I have learned about sex and gender during the interview is really about accepting people for who they are, whether straight, gay, trans, or anything between. Ang hospitality industry is supposed to be a safe space for everyone, where they feel welcome and respected. Though hindi lang siya about serving, about or giving service, but about showing genuine care for people, no judgment, no chismis, and no shame. As a hospitality student, my understanding about sex and gender orientation diversity is essential because it teaches us to respect and value everyone equally. It's not just about accepting differences, but celebrating them. As a diversity brings creativity, inclusivity, and positive energy to the workplace. True hospitality goes beyond service. It's about humanity, kindness, and making sure everyone feels safe, welcome, and seen.
Sex and gender orientation are part of who we are. Sex is what we're born with, male, females, or intersex. Gender is how we see and express ourselves, like being male, female, and transgender are not binary. Gender or sexual orientation is about who we are attracted to boys, girls, or none. In short, everyone different, and that's okay. What matters most is respect and acceptance for all, no matter their identity.
As a hospitality management student, I believe it's crucial to discuss sex and gender orientation, especially now, emphasizing that this factor should not hinder workplace acceptance. We must consider acknowledging that abilities aren't limited by gender. Sex and gender orientation is about accepting all sexes, gender identities, and sexual orientation within the industry.
Hospitality management institution. In the context of hospitality, tourism, workplace, sex, gender, and sexual orientation diversity refers to the inclusion, respect, and equitable treatment of all individuals, regardless of their biological sex, gender identity, or sexual orientation. It means creating an environment where everyone feels welcome, valued, and has equal opportunities.
Based on my interview to the McDonald's Victoria's manager, she underscores the importance of sex and gender orientation diversity, emphasizing respect, quality, and inclusivity for a positive work environment. Her practical advice to students and reflection on her CPSU education highlight the value of diversity. So the lesson that I've learned is that prioritizing diversity and inclusivity creates a more welcoming and productive workplace for everyone.
At first, I honestly thought that this topic would just be about how people identify themselves, mapagbayi, laki, or LGBTQIA+, pero it's more than that. It's about how we treat people fairly, no matter what their gender identity is, and how inclusivity can make the workplace in hospitality more fun, respectful, and safe for everyone.
Being a hospitality management student, sex gender orientation is not enough to just avoid being discriminatory. We need to actively fix problems like helping women advancement in their careers, challenging stereotypes, and make sure everyone feels welcome. By understanding and accepting everyone, we create better workplace, come with more creative ideas, and understanding our customer better.
I've learned that hospitality is not just about serving guests, it's about serving respect. Acceptance doesn't require a big speeches or rainbows everywhere. It starts with small things, using the right pronouns, being kind and not judging, and letting people be their authentic selves. In short, diversity isn't just a challenge to manage. It's a vibe.
to celebrate.
I learned that sex and gender orientation diversity means people can be different in who they are and who they love. And it teaches us to accept, respect, and treat everyone equally, no matter what their identity or orientation.
The thing that I've learned, at the end of the day, embracing sex and gender diversity isn't just a paper. It's smart business and ethical leadership. It's the only way to make sure the heart of hospitality, that universal welcome, is beating and strong, true for everyone. We surely owe it to our staff and our guests to make our spaces not just accepting, but truly affirming.
Notes that the tourism sector globally includes more than 270 million workers, about 8.2% global employment according to ILO stats. For the hotel, catering, and tourism industry, up to 70% of workers are women and up to 50% of workers are under the age of 25 in many countries, according to the International Labour Organization. As for local context, the study of Metro Manila training establishment excellent efforts towards diversity and inclusion. And the country ranked first among 10 Asian countries in a benchmark of gender diversity. A study of the hotel industry found that male workforce or employees outnumbered female 59% versus 40% in selected samples, indicating gender imbalance in some subsegments.
The tourism hospitality sector is a major global employer, accounting for 8.2% of the global workforce. As generally pictured, a heavily female, which is 65%, and young international workforce. However, this trend shifts in the Philippines, where local subsegments like the hotel industry show a male predominance, which is 55%, creating a contrast with the global gender balance. This spreading underscores the necessity for region-specific diversity and inclusion initiatives to ensure equitable representation across all the local and international roles.
In our top story, examines the hospitality industry, the unique diversity in its economic contribution. The industry involves individuals from diverse cultural and linguistic backgrounds serving a global customer base. As you can see in this graph, the global tourism sector generated around 9 trillion in 2023, underscoring the importance of managing diversity effectively to sustain the growth.
Implications for workplace diversity. High representation of women and young workers means policy must consider flexible work, career progression, training, leadership pipelines for this group. The relatively high share of migrant workers and young workers suggests that inclusion effort must address language, culture training, peer work, provision. For International Labour Organization, the research gap in diversity management in hospitality tourism means many organizations may implement diversity initiatives superficially. Local hospitality enterprises, example in the Philippines, may still have gender imbalance or managerial gender gaps, suggesting room for improvement.
Diversity plays a vital role in the hospitality and tourism industry. It includes guest satisfaction, sweetness, and workforce, and drives innovation. Embarrassing diversity helps business stay competitive and inclusive. Let's support private workplace that value equality, respect, and opportunity for all, because the diverse industry creates better freedom for everyone.
We offer our sincere gratitude to our interviewees for sharing their invaluable insight on sex and gender orientation, diversity, and hospitality in the tourism industry. The first is Sir Carol Manantil, the pride of Central Philippine State University and graduate of Bachelor of Science in Hospitality Management. And also meet Anne Oribe, who works in the front office. And also, Ms. Trish Rusdell Desana, an LGBTQIA+ member and a manager of McDonald's in the Victoria City Grand. So our research would not have been possible without essential data we gathered from International Labour Organization, the United Nations World Tourism Organization via Human Rights in Tourism.net, and also the last but not the least, the World Travel and Tourism Council. So alongside the foundation academic work, Talavera and Hossan 2017 on diversity management assessed her research lead. So finally, we extend our utmost thanks to our dedicated group members who are Victoria Lisa, Ricky Wayne Camina, Lisel Santa Maria, Irene Aldo, Bex Capex, Lauren Robles, Trisha Cordoba, Will Rose Lobaton, Daniela Estacada, Norvel Ivan Casanillo, Shimbi Miranda, and also me, Adeline Jane Villasio, whose roles as researchers, editors, videographers, and interviewers were crucial to completing this.